Did I get it?
Good.
Looks like I've been successful.
Ayush, can you solve this problem? I think Dr. Kyle's link is not working. Have you sent the new one?
I have sent him the new one. It's still not working from his side. He just has message. I'm looking onto it.
He can join mine. I can send him mine. That's okay, because then he will have just my name that can be changed after that. Ayush, can you solve this problem? I think Dr. Kyle.
Recording in progress.
Dr. Kyle, I forwarded another link to you. If you can kindly click that link on your WhatsApp, if you're hearing me, then you can join. It will display my name, but you can change it afterwards. That's my link. Meanwhile, let us start. I think there are people joining in and we are live on YouTube. So maybe we should start. Let me welcome everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm so delighted to welcome you all today for the eCafe 2.0. After a brief pause, we have restarted our meetings. Today, it's quite funny that the whole concept of eCafe started in 2014 was to remove the online communication with offline discussion. I think Dr. Kyle has also joined.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Sometimes technology can play a funny role. Yes, we can see you and hear you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Ayush, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to Entrepreneur Cafe. So it's been a long time that everyone in the community has been having a conversation and everyone staying at home, learning new technologies, of course, this Zoom, having meeting online. So let's keep moving ahead with the same energy that we used to carry. Let's stay young and let me introduce to all Dr. Madhu Vasipalli. He is experienced managing partner with demonstrated history of working in hospital and healthcare industry, skilled in management, healthcare, project management, clinical research, strategic planning, strong business development, professional with MDS focused in pediatric and preventing dentistry from Dr. A.R. Ahmed Dental College. And it's a pleasure for me and the whole Entrepreneur Cafe to have Dr. Madhu. So, moving ahead, let me introduce Dr. Kale. He is US Military Academy West Point carrying a background, a board member of Certified Family Medicine, has a 4 master's degree related to business, global health in 120 plus countries, assistant family physician, editor of 3 medical journals, 75 plus peer reviewed medical journals, authored The Innate Design, speaks 4 languages, and also he has his a good hold in startup ecosystem in United States, which carries 40 plus startups in his angel portfolio, which is really amazing. It is a pleasure for us to have you, Dr. Kale. Over to you, Nikhil sir.
Thank you for having me.
Hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining today. It's such a pleasure to welcome everyone back to Entrepreneur Cafe after so much of time. And certainly, uh, Sarah will tell a little bit more background about how Entrepreneur Cafe started. And this started with a very funny story. So she will certainly share with that. It's as a part of Entrepreneur Cafe in 2017, we have launched eCafe TV, where we were interviewing and uploading the videos of some of the best known entrepreneurs abroad or across the globe. And I think this particular platform is the uh, technology has again given us an opportunity for doing this virtually and using this platform once again to bring in entrepreneurs and to discuss ideas which matter most. So today there is no question about it. The most important idea and our most important aspect in our mind today is healthcare. Whether is healthcare of ourselves, health for our family members, loved ones, or the healthcare as a business. So that's the most important thing for all of us. And this is a very pertinent topic, and we have the world-class experts joining in today. Dr. Madhu, who is a leading health tech entrepreneur in India. Not only an entrepreneur, he is a practicing doctor. Dr. Kyle, who is based out of Dallas. And thanks a lot for joining us such early in the morning. I believe it must be 7 a.m. in the morning. That shows the commitment that he has joined from so far. Sarah joining from Morocco. People are joining from different time zones. There are certain people who have joined here. There are many people who's maybe seeing us live, and then this whole recording will go on YouTube that the people can take benefit of this webinar for many years to come. So I will invite Sarah to give a little quick background of what Entrepreneur Cafe was all about, and then we can straightway jump into the discussion.
Hi, everyone. So first of all, I would like to thank you all for taking the time to join this webinar today. I know it's the first day of the week, so many of you might be busy with their jobs or with their studies, and especially that each one of us is in a different time zone. So here it's 3 p.m. So thank you all for your time again. So Entrepreneur Cafe concept started in 2014. So when Dr. Nikhil Agarwal was in visit to Morocco, we have organized a conference here, a seminar. So he joined us, and it was just an idea that came to reality after very few days. So we have organized our first meeting in Casablanca, Manchester, Delhi, Dubai, and Boston for the first time. In Casablanca, I was surprised myself to see that something like 30 people came to the meeting. It was in Starbucks coffee. It was unexpected. And the weeks after weeks, we started receiving more and more people. Thanks to eCafe, myself, I've made a lot of new friends, a lot of new connections. I was able to make other businesses with other individuals from Morocco, but also from other countries. I know that, I don't know if some of you know about that, but in Morocco, we had two people that got married because they met at eCafe meetings. So it's a great opportunity to connect with not only with people from the same city, but also with from other cities and also other countries. I can't wait to see you again in eCafe annual global event very soon.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I think, and certainly this is the first meeting we are organizing after a pause, but every month, today being Monday, I agree that certainly people will be busy. But going forward, the meetings will be organized 2 times a month. One will be a global meeting for the next, for the foreseeable future, which will be organized on the first Saturday of every month, regardless of the date and so it will be the first Saturday of every month. You will announce the date, the new theme very soon. And then the city mayors who are engaging with us can also organize one more meeting in a month, maybe 2 weeks from the first meeting, which is organized. That's on third Saturday. They can organize a local meeting where people can come together and discuss their ideas. So our members will have an opportunity of signing up for 2 meetings. It's absolutely free. There's no charge. The idea is to network and promote entrepreneurship. More and more people connect to each other, more and more discussion happens and help we can provide. So let me come to the topic for today. So as I was saying, the health is the most important aspect on our mind today. There's no question about it. Everybody is impacted in some way or others everywhere in the world. Some people have been impacted in a positive manner, but most of us has been impacted in more negative manner. But I think the humanity has survived. The people have survived. We are trying to fight out. We still don't know. A lot of things we don't know. We don't know what will be the impact of the different waves which is coming in, what will be the different variants coming in, will the vaccine will be successful or not, will my healthcare become expensive, what are the new technologies will come out. So the way that we have seen the healthcare, the way we have seen the businesses, the way we have seen the way that we deal with other human beings have changed. Today, in the last 1.5, 2 years, I don't remember that I have gone and met people socially without getting scared. There is instances that I have gone and dine at the hotels and restaurants, but without getting scared, without looking other person with a distrust. That's something I'm not sure whether I have seen. It first instance looks like that person is having a COVID, but slowly you will develop in confidence and it could be anything. So I'm just saying that the situation has been very different. It has deeply impacted us socially, mentally, physically, financially, and the new, but at the same time, I always say that the people, it's a sheer stupidity if you miss a crisis. As an entrepreneur, you need to look at the opportunities, you need to look at the new ideas, that you need to look at the things that will come in the future, because the crisis is the mother of innovation, the crisis is the mother of opportunity. That is something which I'm sure the speakers will also speak about today. Without keeping a distance between you and the speakers, let me welcome both Madhu and Kyle to this event. And now let me invite first our friend, Dr. Madhu Vasupalli from Hyderabad, who runs an NGO called Deep. Also, he is the founder for Bespoke Health Services, which is manufacturing new age robots, which I'm sure he will tell about. Over to you, Dr. Madhu.
Hello, everyone. I've been to an event, Entrepreneur Cafe, a couple of years back in Pune. That was my first introduction, though I knew Dr. Nikhil for quite some time. But of course, yes, when he did mention an exciting evening. So without, I'll start sharing my screen. Are you able to see my screen? Ayush, can you confirm?
Yes,
Yes,
we can see that. We can see that.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, well, indeed, he was mentioning about the new age robots that being glad to be involved with the IIT Kanpur, which is a premier institute in the country. And the company that we started during the time, as you mentioned about, never miss a crisis. And we did exactly that, and we landed up getting some good amount of grants from the government, and we're now designing medical robots that can help both in terms of telepresence as well as sterilization and transportation and healthcare. But I'm here to talk about the certain opportunities or the healthcare opportunities that are existing and that are actually emerging in this condition. I mean, can be COVID or post-COVID, but I will talk about a little amount of how, briefly about how things are changing and evolving. So now, as we stand within the second wave, what is the current state of interest? I mean, is it something that will enhance? Will we have a third wave? We don't know. Will it have larger implications? We don't know. But what we are able to see in India, if you closely look around, is that there are new models. There are different models that are emerging quickly. The whole initial year of the first wave was all about sterilization. It was about disinfection. It was all about social distancing. Anything from the thermometers that could, check your temperature to smaller things that we never bothered, like a pulse oximeter, has now become a necessity in everybody's home. And as we see that these are the things that are opening, and what are those that are actually driving the newer innovations or the ones that were existing? And I keep using all this word in a very commonly in multiple forum is what I picked up from Dr. Nikhil. It's called the creative configuration. By the way, I probably think he's trademarked that word now. So the whole idea is to bring concepts from different angles and then creatively configure them together and see how we can actually start driving it. The two biggest epicenters that we've seen during COVID, or even in the normal healthcare, would be one would be the hospital or the real delivery point of healthcare. There are also the others, which are the home healthcare. I mean, and both of them, we are actually seeing the changes. What are we seeing in hospitals? What we are actually visualizing in the hospital is we are extensively seeing the different kinds of diagnosis, different kinds of tools. Now you see a lot of AI coming in with new med tech and new tech devices. Send me your technology, send me your X-rays, and we'll be able to say. I have been luckily part of 2 to 3 different type of technologies that we have already started pilot studies where we are using breathalyzers for detecting COVID. We are using audio-visual voice. I mean, we are talking about the different changes in the voice in terms of pitch. So I have done a study here during the COVID utilizing the voice. We are now talking about saliva as a diagnostic tool. So multiple things. And similarly, when it comes to home care, telemedicine, obviously the whole world is in a lockdown. Nobody's allowed to come out, but there are people suffering within the homes, in the confines of their homes. And how do they get the medicine? How do they get the diagnosis? How do they get home care? Telemedicine has come to a save. And what are we seeing when it comes to in terms of investors? We see a huge amount of participation in both domestic and I, for one, can proudly say that we've been able to generate quite a lot of interest in what we have been doing. And when Dr. Nikhil approached about this, and what we have seen is that the amount of interest that if you have a great idea, I'm sure you will find a lot of takers in the current scenario. So, what is it that, if I could just briefly put the entire favorable concepts in the Indian background, is that, India, this is what we are seeing. We are seeing that India's healthcare is the fourth largest employer. We have immense and impressive amount of growth prospects here. We are having favorable investor environment, and the whole changes that we're seeing in the socio-economic fabric of the nation, in the demographic profile, and the kind of changes that we see are huge. So when it comes to, we are looking at about the home care, that it is going to be generating a huge amount of jobs. I mean, in which way we are seeing governmental agencies, we are seeing private partner, private players into the ecosystem. And when it comes to the growth prospects, we're seeing a huge amount of opportunity because the government spend is increasing. As we go forward, I will, of course, elaborate a lot more on these points. When it comes to the cost of India, being a you see a lot here, you're able to see there is a huge amount of medical tourism, of course. Not, it has been terribly impacted by COVID, of course. But otherwise, when it comes to research, we've seen so much amount of. Even this afternoon, I was talking to a party from Mumbai, where they have taken up research facilities are coming up here in India, where you have all the researches that are being developed there in the West can be done at a fraction of a cost in India. So these are the different chances that we see, and these are the different overviews that we see in the medical uh, system and the industry here. What are the advantages? Obviously, there is a rising income. There is a general health awareness that has increased. We are no longer talking about the old infectious diseases. Now we are talking about non-communicable diseases that are in rise. The differences in the changes in the healthcare lifestyle, and that has brought about the need for changes in the diagnosis, the changes in the medication, changes in the home care and all of that, the use of IoT devices, all the devices that we are wearing now, from your Fitbits to your Apple Watches, the whole amount of demand for healthcare has changed. And similarly, there are opportunities because the government is in fact trying to peddle changes by pumping in good amount of changes in terms of infusion into the capital as well as the policy support, and of course, also the manpower, which we see in the larger quadrant here. We're talking about the rising manpower. We'll also elaborate more on the number of colleges that we are seeing increase in terms of medical fraternity. One of the largest hit the frontline health workers or COVID warriors, as we call it across the globe now, healthcare doctors have been hit badly. So, healthcare, if you would like to see it in a different way, completely works in different segments. So, you have hospitals or direct healthcare, which can be a government or a private. Pharmaceuticals, of course, you're seeing pharmaceuticals as focused delivery. You're talking about delivery for a particular care, diagnostics, point of care diagnostics that are improving, medical equipment and supplies, medical insurance. Now, with the increase in the spend, and also with the COVID as a background, earlier hitherto it was only restricted to a particular segment of population or demography of the geographies. But now with COVID, it has gone into tier two, tier three cities, and we are seeing a steady rise of telemedicine finding a very significant role right now. The growth obviously has been increasing because and about the demand of care, as in the previous slide that I had mentioned about the demand for care, where there is an extensive amount of deliberate spend. People are now demanding care, and they're choosing luxurious demands. Like one would see, the demand for airlifting has improved. During COVID, we were able to do ourselves. We've seen air ambulances, the demand for it from remote places where patients were picked up. So hitherto, all this was never existing. It wasn't at least in the realm of the open discussions, but now we are actually seeing that. And what do we see by 2022? We are seeing that the industry could grow, which is to $372 billion. And what we are now talking about is for any person who was looking at healthcare as an opportunity to come into, this is a great time. And this is, as what I was mentioning about the per capita healthcare expenditure, it is because of the rising income. There is a greater penetration of health insurance. There is an economic prosperity that is improving the affordability of drugs or markets. The government expenditure has improved, and the government is planning to have an increased public health spending, which was lesser, but now it is with COVID. Now everything is sudden focus on the healthcare expenditure. Similarly, keeping in pace is we are seeing that there is a infrastructure that has risen at a faster pace. We are seeing medical infrastructure, the number of medical hospitals that are coming up. There is a huge, the larger healthcare providers in terms of the cities are now further expanding into tier two, tier three areas. And we see that, earlier the councils that have been changed and the number of doctors have increased. All of that is driven by the demand from the market. Of course, the prices too. So, what are the notable trends that you're seeing in the healthcare? You're shifting from a communicable diseases to a lifestyle changes. So, when there is a systematic change as practitioners, we see that it is no longer in the past that we would talk about the diseases, but more towards the lifestyle changes have resulted in diabetes, obesity. There is so much of wellness is the real change that we're trying to see. And the expansion of the hospital chains that we're seeing from tier 2 to tier 3 from the major metros, emergence of telemedicine that we're seeing here. It's a fast emerging sector, and being a part of a not-for-profit organization, we use it extensively where we are trying to see where we can connect the rural and the urban divide. And you'll be glad to know that the National Telemedicine Medicine Services, which opened up a couple of years ago, has now completed more than 1.5 lakh teleconsultations since its launch. And COVID per se, the numbers are not known, but it has given rise to newer products where a lot of startups that have started during this crisis, where they have facilitated, and the earlier ones that have already been existing, both of them together have facilitated a huge amount of telemedicine. And here, artificial intelligence is the other one, where we see quite a lot of AI has been used with systems data that have been available. Uh, Radiology has become a huge product where, with the CT being a part of one of the major changes during COVID, CT images were transmitted and diagnosis based on the images. This was already existing, but what has happened now is the thrust. Home care, of course, the kind of devices now almost every home, every household that has been affected has found a very simple device that I was talking of, like a pulse oximeter, which was never there. But now we are having these, and now we are having devices. We are having the mobiles that are picking up your healthcare data. So we have one of the largest, health records that we hold, and we use these health records, and the doctors are able to advise the patients, even in isolation, through the telemedicine. They are able to advise the patients on the home care that they need to take. Coming to health insurance, earlier the health insurance penetration was pretty low, but now that we see, we talk to the members from the health insurance sector and regulatory body, and we realize that there is a faster penetration. It is highly increasing. Now there are personalized care. Now for COVID exclusively, there were certain policies that were just given out to actually meet the needs of the sector. Mobile based, of course, the ubiquitous mobile that is there in your hand right now has become the harbinger of change. And we see so many initiatives that your healthcare devices, you can actually now have your heart rate, your ECGs, and everything that is being monitored using a mobile base now. Technology innovations, obviously, in electronic medical records, hospital-based systems, HIS managements, in relation to your mobile healthcare, everything, the technology initiatives have changed the thing. Luxury offering, as I was mentioning earlier, is now you're actually having pick up and drop services. Now you're having luxury of having the person come home and do the thing. Your at-home healthcare delivery systems have changed. People are now demanding healthcare from their confines of their home, and COVID brought about the demand, and it has increased tremendously over the last 2 years. So, what are the strategies that one can adopt? And what we have seen here is that everybody that were there originally, a hospital would actually restrict itself to providing as a care at the hospital premises. But now with this that has happened, everybody is expanding into the diagnostics would be expanding. They are able to offer their services to the patients or people who demand for care from their home. And the leadership cost of the private players and all, they're leveraging the economies of it. They're reducing the cost. Earlier, a CT would have been around 5,000 to 8,000, is now no longer to that cost. And there are centers here in Hyderabad that you get a CT done at 2,500 rupees, which is a fraction of a cost of what you would see. And so that facilitates a lot of changes that can be done. Focus is now changing from hospitals, um, like you only have now cancer hospitals. You have hospitals that are focusing on only gastroenterology. Similarly, now you're seeing, apart from dentists or whatever that we talk about, you are having hospitals and healthcare provisions coming exclusively for a particular device or for a particular disease, if I was to correct that. M&A, you are seeing a lot of, uh, and I just brought out some points about showing how different groups have invested in healthcare in the last 2 years. And so there is a strategy here, and one tries to look into healthcare, great opportunities that exist right now. So all the same thing that I've been focused talking about in the past, trying to put them together as there is a growing demand, there is a policy support, there is a good amount of people coming in from foreign VCs or even local. There is a focus on research and development. There is a focus on one of the greatest things that we have seen is my co-incubated company in IIT Kanpur. They were able to deliver a ventilator in less than 6 weeks. And it has taken, and today we see the news that they have made a mark. And the kind of stories that we are hearing like this, there is a point of care device from an incubated company which takes just 1 ml of your blood, runs a panel, and gives you close to around 84 panel tests. So things of this sort in the healthcare sector is really in a poised to grow, and can actually find interest if people are interested to see it. One other thing that I thought I would make as a passing mention is the reemergence of traditional care. There has always been an existing, whenever we get into talk about medical care in India, we also talk about the additional care, which is in terms of Ayush, which is your Ayurvedic, Unani, homeopathy, Siddha. These are the different alternative medicine. But the amount of penetration that we have seen, the immune healthcare component, where people are talking about immune boosters, uh, traditional knowledge that has come into the thing. It is very notably interesting to note that a lot of the mainstream hospitals and mainstream healthcare companies are also getting into the traditional healthcare, and people who have been following the news, I'm sure have seen how the kind of role that the traditional healthcare has been playing in these times right now. So apart from that, the opportunities is just again the same thing about how there is an increasing focus on health infrastructure. So people who can provide infrastructure, who can provide solutions to improving the infrastructure, who can provide solutions in helping research, who can help in medical tourism. Tourism right now may not be the real tourism as travel tourism, but probably people who can connect thanks to the internet. If there are some providers of if require seeking help from sub-Saharan or Middle East or Far East, anywhere, uh, using the solutions here, technology solutions, providing healthcare research as well as diagnostics can be a big thing. So that is all that I wanted to talk about in this brief little presentation. And I thank Dr. Nikhil, Ayush, Sarah, and all of them for giving this great opportunity to Entrepreneur Cafe. I'll stop sharing this screen now. Thank you so much again.
So thanks a lot. I think it's quite an eye opener. And certainly there will be a lot of questions, and I have a couple of questions to ask. I will now request Dr. Kyle to share his presentation.
Sure thing. Let me share my screen.
I'll do it for you.
I think I got it.
Okay, perfect.
Alrighty. 1 second. Alrighty. So, first of all, thank you for having me here and allowing me just to discuss a little bit about myself and kind of things I've been involved with on the entrepreneurial front and where we're heading both in the US, India, and abroad. So just a little bit about my background so you understand who I am, where I come from. And thanks for the initial intro as well. Started off just with a pure military and leadership background through the United States Military Academy at West Point. Decided that even though I still wanted to be in the military, I was really interested in medicine, applied, and they allow that year 1% of us to go directly to medical school. So I did that, and then I specialized in family medicine. Didn't stop studies there. Still was practicing full-time medicine, and but I really enjoyed the business aspect of medicine and continued getting four master's degrees at this point, just so I can really round out my clinical studies and my business understanding as well. During that time, I was lucky enough to really understand the good and bad of ours in the United States healthcare system, while also looking at different areas around the world. I was lucky and fortunate enough to collaborate in several countries and really see that America is kind of dichotomous in having the best and the worst, in my opinion, healthcare system in the world. So it's interesting to have some amazing medicine, but at the same time, our systems are absolutely horrible. Beyond that, I'm really interested in and have been really interested in working at the spear tip of medicine and really pushing all of us to become better. It's been quite interesting in COVID, when COVID hit, and as mentioned, that's just been a real boost to innovation. As you face a challenge, you see an opportunity. So entrepreneurs have really been taking care of that. So as I mentioned, spent most of my time in the military. I got out about 2 years ago, and have worked since then in a health tech and health insurance startup called Oscar Health. It started as an itty bitty company out of New York City, and it's really grown exponentially over the last several years. We just had our initial public offering in March of this year, 7.6 billion opening valuation. So we're pretty excited about that, and just to continue to grow and improve that portion of healthcare here in the United States. Also I wear multiple hats, as you can see, work in a couple of startups as the lead physician for those teams. Just Pharma is a clinical trials platform to really take the disjointed clinical trial system, both here and abroad, and really get it into one single place to decrease costs, increase how fast we can move our timelines, and really just improve medicine and patient safety. I think as an example, it usually takes several years to get a vaccine, a medicine approved, but most of that is not because of the medicine, it's because of the red tape and paperwork. And we saw just how fast it can get done safely over the last year and a half with COVID and the COVID vaccines. Beyond that, also an angel investor. So I like to say, I like to put my money where my mouth is. So if I say it's a good idea, and I think it's, really part of our future, I'm also have been willing to take those steps as an angel investor and really support these companies, not only with my knowledge, but also financial backing as well. Couple interesting areas as far as things that I'm personally interested in, as well as things that have really changed here or have come to light during COVID. So we've noticed, and as mentioned here previously, there's a lot of novel technology, new thinking ideas surrounding COVID. One that I'm involved with as the lead investor, as well as the lead physician as well, is called Covimro. This is really interesting, and again, we've all been looking at ways to both detect as well as treat COVID-19. The majority of treatments to date go after those protein spikes, which are the little pointy spikes that come out of the ball of the COVID-19 envelope. The round portion is the envelope. So unfortunately, those spikes are the part we target and go after, but they're continuously changing. There's, as you're well aware, there's a UK variant, South African variant, Brazilian variant, and it's just going to keep going and going and going, which means that our vaccinations as well as treatments that go after those targets are going to be less and less effective. And it already looks like we're going to need a boot. I'm lucky enough to be vaccinated, but it also looks like we're going to need a booster shot here in the next several months to years as well because of that change. So at Covimro, we said, hey, well, why are we going after the part that changes and not the part that stays the same, the envelope, the ball? So we've actually come up with a solution that's currently in animal testing that you can take orally or nasally, and it's over the counter, so you don't need a doctor to prescribe it at all. But it goes after that envelope. Not only is it effective against the envelope of COVID-19, we're also seeing in other viruses that have similar envelopes that it's effective there. One that I can mention at this time without a non-disclosure is HIV. It's actually, again, this oral or nasal solution is also effective against and breaks apart the HIV viral envelope. So that's just amazing that if you attack this one part, you might even have a solution that is beyond one single virus, but is actually virus agnostic, going across multiple viruses. Other innovations as well. So you might have seen, at least here in the U.S., I'm not sure about in India, people have been isolated home, not having a lot more free time, and unfortunately that has gone into eating or drinking alcohol for those who drink alcohol. So the consumption of alcoholic beverages over the last year and a half has really skyrocketed, and not only is that in itself an issue, but then you have the prolonged and just the morbidity and mortality associated with that in the long term. So this is now a rise during, secondary to COVID. So this company called Alcotox, for example, has gone and really looked at what is causing the issue with the negative effects of the alcohol. So it's not actually the alcohol; it's what the alcohol breaks down to it, acetaldehyde, which is the issue. So they found a way to really reduce the body's exposure to that poison, is what it is, and then it's also what causes hangovers and liver cirrhosis and things like that. So again, something that has come out of innovation that has come out of COVID-19 pandemic that is not even related directly to the virus itself. Quite interesting. And then the last, I'll just talk about a couple more things here, if you will, especially these last two at the bottom. Psychology compass. So again, going into the loner, social isolationism, and just really that lack of social support that we have traditionally depended on is no longer, at least physically, present there. So it's really important to address those psychological aspects and to stay on the top of your mental game. So that's why there are a lot of startups out there focused in that arena. Here in the US, I don't know if it's the same there in India. There's one called Calm. There's another one called Noom. One I'm involved with is called Psychology Compass. So you see a lot of innovation in that area as well. And the last one I kind of really want to highlight here is when everything went digital, it really highlighted the digital divide between rich, poor, socioeconomic class differences as well. So yes, we have telemedicine, but it's kind of hard to access telemedicine if you don't have the internet, correct? It's hard to access education if your school is closed and you're not able to get on your Zoom classes, which many of us are fortunate to have. So this pandemic has really highlighted that digital divide between poor, rich, rich countries, poor countries, and so on. So a nonprofit I'm involved with called Willow Thrive really has taken that on and focused and come up with novel solutions to get computers and mobile devices into the hands of those who traditionally have not had them, so that they can continue to learn, continue to have access to these medical technologies just by simply having better use of our mobile technology and better, I guess at the time we get rid of our mobile technology, think about, I don't know if people have 5 phones still laying around, what those extra phones, for example, can now be used to really improve the lives of those who are less fortunate. So by finding novel ways of collecting those, clearing the data off of them, and distribute them to poorer locations, we're really making an improvement here during COVID-19 for those who are less fortunate. So I wanted to give a little bit of tangible rather, things that have come out of this pandemic. And these are ones specifically I've been fortunate enough to be involved with. But at this time, I'd really like to open up to everybody, or at least I'd be happy to answer questions here. I have bulleted a couple points there as far as trends in healthcare. I don't know if people want to know more about from the angel investing side. What does an angel investor kind of look for when he or she is deciding to invest or not, as well as educational insights. There's so many things out there that can really set you apart from the competition, or that can get you prepped for the next, big pandemic or big international issue, so that again you are prepped and ready to go when those things do happen. Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot. I think you are absolutely right. That's a preparation time. It's not the relaxation time. There will be new pandemics will be coming in. That's for sure. Whether it was a mistake from a lab, or it was deliberate, or it was transferred from by the bat, we don't know. Nothing is for sure at this stage. There are new exploration which are happening. But let's assume a possibility if there is a deliberate attempt by a certain agency or certain country to do that. And so what kind of preparation we need to do in terms of technology, in terms of vaccine, in terms of our preparedness, as you both are health entrepreneurs and both are doctors. So what kind of preparation we need to do now? Because we know that how impactful it could be.
So that's if I could start off with that one, that's part of what we're doing with Covimro. Now that I'm not sharing screen, I can actually show. So instead of going after the spikes on the COVID-19, we're going after the envelope portion, right, the ball portion. We've already had success against a couple different viruses. So the military heard about this, and they're quite interested in this as far as prevention of, or not prevention, but preparation for bioterrorism, anything virus related, because again, this has shown the capacity to break down these viral walls in multiple viruses. Mm-hmm. So if there's something that comes up, worst case scenario from a bioterrorism standpoint, or it could be less sinister from the next pandemic. A bat transfers a virus, and the next MERS, SARS, COVID-19, swine flu comes around. We're ready for that. We have something that's shelf stable. We can get it out over the counter. It's safe. And that's the real plan in regards to that startup.
I think that's a mystery. I think Madhu has to say something. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I was just mentioning that since the question was in the context of COVID and what a pandemic could do, for us, we have seen what it could do. I mean, in terms of population. So I think most of the innovations should be directed in the perspective of seeing how it can be deployed in the shortest span of time. And the whole ultimate idea of healthcare is to save lives, apart from just improving, because health is not just about that, but it is also about finding a state of not just about not having a disease, but there's a trail of multiple things, as I was just seeing Dr. Kyle's, psychology. So many things come forth right now when we're talking of a pandemic. Well, only hope that it doesn't happen. And if it happens once in 100 years, who knows, will we be able to see it the next time?
So it's certainly is a mystery that we are trying to resolve. The human body is still a deepest mystery that has to be resolved. I think more complicated than finding the alien life. So we need not to look around in the universe to see the alien. Like you and me both are aliens to each other. We don't understand the human body the way we should. The another question, which is from my side, you mentioned about the investment part, because most of the entrepreneurs who are listening and who would be listening here are more interested that health is an expensive business. It's not easy to enter into healthcare as a startup because trials are required. It's a complicated business. It can directly affect you. You are not just making an app, but you are doing some serious activity. So what are the barriers for entry for the young entrepreneur or young innovator, uh, and what they should do to, if they have an idea, if they have a capability, and they have maybe some research, what steps they should do to form a company and to build up a sustainable business.
And Dr. Kyle, you're the advisor on VCs.
Sure. Oh, so again, that all depends on what market you're in. I can give you a big general area to focus on as far as ensuring optimal success. So one, you're solving a problem. It's a 3 T's. So one, you're solving a problem. So your tech solution, it's usually tech, kind of what we're focused on right now, but it could be even beyond that. So 1 T is tech. It needs to be novel. It needs to be different than the other competitor. As an angel investor, I'm going to say, why am I putting my money for you instead of your competitor? What makes you different? So your tech needs to be different. It also needs to have good IP. It needs to be protected. So if you have a good idea, but then it can be knocked off next week because you don't have protections on it, again, that doesn't bode well for you as an entrepreneur or for getting money from investors as well. 2, the team. So the other next T is the team. You need to surround yourself with a strong team. Obviously, not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur with multiple successful exits, or no new entrepreneurs would ever come in. So got it. You may be a new entrepreneur. That's great, but you do need to surround yourselves with good advisors, good executives who have some experience. So if everybody on the team is brand new and has never had experience, again, that's going to make things difficult from both the raising capital as well as avoiding those pitfalls. If you have someone who's assisting you, who's on your team, who's done it for 20 years, they can really guide you because they probably made a lot of the mistakes that they don't want you to make. They've made them for you, so you don't want to make those again. Learn from other people's mistakes. The last thing is traction. So the 3 T's, right? Tech team traction. Traction can be defined in different ways. So the easiest and probably the best one is sales, right? So if you come up with a new platform and you bring on new customers, that's the best traction there is. Other traction, that's also the most difficult traction in general. Other traction would be collaborations with other entities. The more well-known, the better. So if one of my startups is, so like Covimro I mentioned, if it's collaborating with the United States Army, everybody's heard, for better or worse, everybody's heard of the United States Army, right? So that's a really big traction and pull for that. If you're able to collaborate with Harvard, Oxford, anybody who's really, really well known, those are great. Even if they're not well known, maybe your local hospital, another startup. I have startups that I connect all the time because they're very synergistic. Those things always look good when other people are connected and working with you. They show that you're legitimate and that your idea is good. The other kind of forms of traction, maybe a grant, if especially COVID, right? People are throwing money at COVID, not people, organizations and governments are throwing money at COVID-19 right now. So there's tons of grants out there related to that or anything surrounding that. So grant money is, if you can get that is a great source of income, and you don't have to lose equity or pay any debt. It's just what we call non-dilutable funds. So those are amazing, and always look for those out there. There's a lot in the US that go unrequested. And I don't know if you knew this, but you don't necessarily have to be a US company to apply for a lot of these grants. So there's a lot of good resources out there, $100,000, $200,000, up to, several millions of dollars. The more money, probably the more competitive, I imagine. So don't forget those 3 things as you're getting started. You want to have tech or some sort of idea that is really going to separate you from your peers, and you need it protected. Your team, hopefully you have some sort of background. If you don't, that is totally fine. Just be an expert in your field and bring on these people that are experts around you, right? And 3, that traction in the different ways that we mentioned. So make sure you have those, and you're really going to set up your company for not only success, but a successful raise as you grow.
That's a brilliant answer. I think truly to the point, I would say. And you mentioned about the money which is available in US and other places, which is a grant money. And I think you have given a music to all the ears. And I am also smiling because suddenly I can think of my investee companies or 2, 3 health startup, which I will ask them to Google it all night and find out, because they are registered not in the American jurisdiction, but they are outside. But certainly if they can access to the money, money is money. The color of money is always green. That's what it's being said. And I absolutely agree with you. Non-dilutable equity, if you are able to raise as a grant, it is always beneficial. And one more thing which I want to add, what the Kyle has said, is that the grant looks very interesting, but they're hardest to get. The reason is that grant is not looking at that how much uh, customers you will do, how much profit you will make, because the grant people don't like it. The people who are evaluating grant, they want to look at only one thing, which is impact, impact, and impact. And if you are able to demonstrate that your business can create an impact, then the grant evaluators will give you the money. So that is the most important thing when you look for the grant. One question has come from Swati. In fact, 2 questions she has asked. Let me read out for you. Coming from Logitech, I see a lot of marketplaces emerging for healthcare, but then how friendly is the government policy, as there are many apprehensions? That's the first question. I'll read out the second one, and then you can choose to respond the way you want. For international and domestic boundaries, we are getting a lot of client into the wellness, but the logistic policy does not remain friendly. Yeah, so how to resolve, because you require FDA approval, you require this approval, that approval. You cannot transport medicine from one place to another. We have seen in the case of vaccination. So every jurisdiction, we know that the COVID is a global pandemic, but every jurisdiction, every country is approving vaccine. They're not trusting the central agency. They're not trusting others. So it is the result is that people are dying. So I think the Swati has put out a quite right. Uh, uh, and I have seen in the cases of ventilators, I have seen in the cases of oxygen concentrators, when there are thousands of people are dying, and then we are contemplating that how much custom duty we have to charge, how much GST we have to charge, whether it will be exempted, whether it has to come from port, or whether this happened. And that has wasted a lot of precious time and people have lost lives. So how do you respond to that, that in time of crisis, these government policies, does they create a barrier, or what we should do?
Well, I think that's a tough question to answer, because it's being driven by multiple things. I mean, what you've mentioned, right, in terms of how you see the changes and the challenges during the COVID. I mean, we've tried to talk about registering newer devices, or trying to bring in certain new diagnostic methodologies. One has to go through these regulations. Now, it is something that I don't think we can change, because in India we have CDSCO. Now we have to go through CDSCO. We were trying to bring around a certain kind of a technology that would make testing for COVID very cheap, and testing for COVID at a very low cost, and where the turnaround time would be less than 3 minutes to 5 minutes, and not the regular kind of tested RT-PCR, but it's a regulated market. Well, one would talk about FDA would bring us a certain thing, but we have notified, non-notified devices, and that's the challenge. Um, I don't know. I mean, how we can answer that, but yes, but technology for one is helping the change and the challenge faster. Now, probably if you're able to do something, probably from somewhere, and you have made it as a concept, unless you're looking at um, charging, and when you start putting money, and then it comes into a different domain. But otherwise, internet, I think, can be leveraged to bring many things easier.
So thank you very much. I think we are almost hitting the hour. And if any last question anybody wish to ask, or any comment they want to make, then you have an opportunity now. Okay. So Dr. Kyle has just sent a message. Thank you everyone for your time and for this invitation. I have an urgent patient issue to need to take care of the life of a doctor. Please feel to reach out to me LinkedIn. Absolutely. The patient come first, whether it's morning or evening. So there is no further questions. So I
I
would
wish I could
request.
say, I wish I could say the same as a dentist.
So I'll give it to Ayush once again.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Dr. Nikhil. Um, Thank you, Dr. Kale and Dr. Madhu for joining in. Um, yeah. So, gratitude is one of the least articulated of the emotions, especially when it's deep. Good evening, everyone. So, we have reached the end of this beautiful function. Today, Ayush Singh, take the opportunity to put my gratitude into words. First of all, I would like to thank Almighty God for making today's function a great success. On behalf of Entrepreneur Cafe, I would like to extend my heartiest thanks to our honorable chief guests, Dr. Madhu and Dr. Kale, for his presence in the function. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with inspiring and motivating words. You are an exemplary person, and we have a lot to learn from you. Wholeheartedly, I would like to thank Dr. Nikhil and Sarah for their support, constant, and guidance in organizing the event. Heartfelt congratulations to the organizing team and the volunteers for your hard work, which has made this function a memorable one for each one of us. Entrepreneur Cafe is open for getting city mayors on board. Feel free to reach out to us in any case of queries. Thank you. Please have a good day.
So thanks a lot, everyone. Next session will be the first next global session will be on 3rd of July. That is Saturday. So kindly make the note, but you will all get the information. And if you like the session, do leave some feedback. There will be a YouTube link which will be shared with you, and invite other entrepreneurs to join Entrepreneur Cafe, because always remember, the community works. The community and collaboration works. That we come together and we work with each other. Thank you very much and see you soon. Bye-bye.